Welcome to Less Than 15, a show for busy business owners brought to you by DFK Australia, New Zealand. Each week we deliver bite-sized, actionable insights from industry experts so you're across the issues that really matter. I'm your host, Angela Rasmus. Let's dive into this week's topic. Hello there and welcome back to another episode of Less Than 15, bite-sized business bulletins from DFK Australia, New Zealand. We want to get you across the topics that are really important in a short amount of time because we know how busy you are. So today's topic is one that you may not have brought front and center: how to make your workplace menopause friendly and why that is so important. And to help us wrap our head around this concept today, we have the lovely Sonya Lovell. Now, Sonya is the Training and Communications Manager for Menopause Friendly Australia and the host of the Dear Menopause podcast. And was most recently in Canberra presenting and briefing to the members of Parliament on the impact of menopause in the workplace. So it's safe to say she is well qualified to bring us up to speed on menopause impact in our businesses, why we need to know about it, and most importantly, what we can do to help. Thank you, Sonya, for your time here today. Let's just leap in, shall we, and talk about exactly that. Why is it important that business owners and leaders are aware of the impact of menopause, and why now? This is not so much a new topic because we've certainly had menopause for a long time, but it's suddenly becoming much more spoken about. Let's hear
It
how
is.
you feel.
And thank you so much for opening with such an awesome question, Ange. So why now? So 81% of people going through menopause are in the workforce right now. And so the average age of menopause in Australia is about 51 and a half years. And those women over 50 are also the fastest growing demographic in the workforce.
So it's affecting a huge amount of the workforce. So that answers why it's important right now. And so what do we do? How do we become more supportive?
Okay, so the first key to that is absolutely education. That's education of workforces, of line managers, people leaders, but it's also education of your workforce themselves. So we are probably all aware that there is this huge campaign right now in the public space to start growing awareness around menopause. So not everybody is educated on the different stages and phases, the perimenopause, the menopause, the impacts that all of those have across your life, at home, at work. And so we want to be educating everybody in every space that we can possibly get into right now.
It makes so much sense, considering as a business owner, you obviously are interested in having productive staff, productive outcomes, a workplace that people are happy to be in, because when we're in a good space, then we produce better work. Being able to retain and engage good staff is incredibly important for lots of different reasons. So this education piece, could we start by getting rid of and dispelling some of the myths? Because there's probably gaps in understanding. So give us a quick tour of what are some of those myths that we need to understand and break.
Absolutely. I think the first myth is that menopause is a blip on the calendar that happens to a woman, predominantly a woman, anybody born with ovaries, in their 50s. But in actual fact, the years preceding their menopause, so the years leading up to that one day in the calendar where you are deemed to be in menopause, is called perimenopause, and perimenopausal symptoms can start kicking in, as I said, about 10 years before your actual menopause. So if your menopause date is going to be around 51 years of age, then those symptoms, which actually cause the most disruption for many, is happening in those 10 years earlier. So that's from as young as 40 or even in the late 30s for some women.
It can be a bit scary, think of it like that. So there is this period of disruption, but I guess it's disruption with a little d as opposed to a capital D, because if we're aware and can have some accommodations and some considerations, it doesn't need to make you leave the workforce or downgrade your abilities, etc.
Absolutely not.
So that's
Absolutely not.
So that one there, understanding that there's the perimenopause and the menopause I was going to say campaigns. That's not quite right. Phases, shall we call them instead? So there's a key myth that we've just exploded. Are there a couple of others that we should be aware of?
Yeah, absolutely. Another one that is being talked about a lot in the public space right now is that what people want to solve this problem is leave, that they want menopause leave from work. Now, if you actually survey most people in the workforce, and this has been done, this is actual research, the need for menopause leave is actually really, really low down their list. There are a whole host of other flexible working arrangements that they will put above the need for menopause leave. So implementing menopause leave, ticking that box is actually not what most people want to improve their work environments.
Yeah, so that's actually quite a relief. Like there's not another expense or another impost employer. So that's a great reason to keep on listening for a start. Number 3, what's the third myth that we should be aware of?
The third myth is that hormone therapy is a silver bullet that is going to solve all the problems for all of the people. Hormone therapy is absolutely fantastic for anybody that chooses to take it. But what's more important is that education and awareness and lifestyle factors are all taken into consideration as well.
Okay. Well, there we go. 3 very important things to understand. So, when you were talking about that assumption that menopausal leave is what most people are after, and surveys has told us completely opposite, that really suggests that it's
Mm-hmm.
important for a business owner not to assume what it is that his or her staff need, to actually ask and say, how can I support you?
Yeah.
To normalize these conversations, not wait until it's uncomfortable, perhaps even put it into the normal onboarding within an organization, that here is our approach to supporting people when they are in peri or menopause. So how can we go
and
about
don't
this?
don't even think that you need to have a specific policy in place. It doesn't have to be a specific menopause policy. It might be that your health and wellness policy is a great way to just add a little addition in around your organization's approach to menopause and perimenopausal care and flexible working arrangements. One of the reasons why it's not a simple tick box exercise is that every single person's experience of menopause will be different and unique, and every single workplace is different and unique. So we need to be ensuring that any arrangements that are made, any adjustments that are made, are considerate of the actual work environment. So somebody that works on a factory floor, for example, is going to have very different needs to somebody that's sitting at a desk all day long, perhaps working on spreadsheets.
That makes perfect sense. So it's really about what we're talking about here. The way I'm hearing it is a simple extension of the care that is normally given to our employees anyway. This is just another piece that needs to be in the mix, in the puzzle, and being open to and empathic to what it is that people need to do their best work. So have the conversations is what we're saying.
To ask your people what they want. That's absolutely the first starting point that we recommend for any conversation, is to actually go out and ask your people what they want. What would be the best adjustments that you can make to suit them?
And it might be surprisingly small adjustments where you might be holding off on having the conversation because it seems like it's too big, or it's a bit like uncomfortable to have that conversation, but it could certainly make a huge difference. So could we discuss some examples of key supports that you could have in place if you are committed as an employer to creating a menopause friendly workplace? What might that look like? Understanding it's going to be unique for different businesses, but what could it look like? What are some guidelines?
So some of the adjustments that we've seen work really well within organizations are flexible work and start times. Start and finish times. So if somebody is struggling with night sweats or hot flushes, and then that is spiraling into impacting their sleep, and so they're getting less sleep during the night, and they're waking up and they're perhaps a little bit slower to start in the morning, you know, if you can have a little bit of flexibility around their start time, extend that out into their finish time, that can work so much better for somebody that's perhaps really a little bit up and down with their energy levels, with their cognitive functions kicking in the morning after a rough night's sleep. Just having that little bit of flexibility with their start and finish times can make a huge difference. Flexibility with uniforms. If you're in a workforce that wears a uniform, being really considered around is the uniform able to be layered? Can a layer be taken off? What fibers? Is it a natural fiber that's being used in the uniform as opposed to something that's perhaps adding to hot flushes and sweating, kind of, temperature rises, things like that. One thing that we get a lot of people talk about is brain fog and memory lapses and things like that. And what we find can be really helpful in that situation is being really empathetic, like you touched on before, around perhaps somebody's need to start having a notebook with them when they're in their meetings and needing to take notes. Perhaps this is someone that in the past hasn't needed to do that, but not judging if they do suddenly turn up to their meetings with a notebook so that they can take notes. It's not necessarily that they're going to be less capable of doing their job. It's just that perhaps they find it that gives them more confidence to know that they've taken notes and can look back on those when they need to.
I think that makes perfect sense. So some of these accommodations are quite small, and if we've had those conversations and normalize these small changes, then we are quite easily creating this workplace that is going to retain those valuable staff with so much experience that they have under their belts that we really don't want to lose.
Absolutely. And we've seen evidence from organisations that have made some of these small adjustments, being more open to the conversations with their teams, and they see an increase in their retention. So they are retaining their staff for longer. They're seeing a reduction in sick leave that's being taken. And obviously they're seeing a decrease in their hiring costs because they are retaining those staff for longer.
And those are all significant benefits for organizations and leaders and business owners to be aware of. Great motivation on top of wanting to be a good human, but great motivation on top of that intention to be looking at your bottom line as well. Well, Sonya, I think that's given us some really good places to start to open people's minds to what are the simple steps that they can start to take to make their workplace more user-friendly, more menopause-friendly. And we will provide a download on the show notes page that has a great checklist that you've very kindly supplied from Menopause Friendly for someone to go through there and go, okay, these are things that I could consider and I could begin to explore to make that workplace more friendly. So thank you so much for your time. One workplace at a time, we will start to encourage these conversations so that we can make a difference and make it better for both the employers and the employees. So thanks very much.
Thanks, Ange, for having the conversation.
You're welcome. And to you, our lovely listener or watcher, this is a topic that perhaps, as I said at the beginning, you haven't yet explored or considered as being really important within your business environment. But it is something that is quite easy to step into. And with those conversations and small adaptations, you can make a big difference to the lives of your employees. And also, as we touched on, ultimately to your bottom line as well. And we know that as owners and leaders, we need to balance both sides of that equation. So we hope that you found this helpful today to start the conversations and look forward to bringing you another bite-sized business bulletin again next week. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Less Than 15 and have a fresh idea or two to take action on. Hit the subscribe button so you catch every bite-sized business bulletin. And we'd love you to leave a review or perhaps share the episode with a friend. Less Than 15 is brought to you by accountants and business advisors DFK Australia New Zealand, helping business owners make better decisions through local knowledge, national connections, and global reach. We'll be back next week with more valuable insights to help you and your business grow.